Hello, this is Jimmy Mitchell, and we're back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast. Let's get right into it. First, we have TIL that in 1954, four terrorists shot up the House floor, hitting five congressmen. Jimmy Carter released them all from prison in 1978 and 1979. And I said, that's from Michael Malcolm's where I posted that. I said, definitely conflicts with the popular vision of the 1950s as a time of great stability. I personally don't advocate for violence, but if it is ever justified, it is most so when it is used against the state, I would say. Then we have your thoughts on the Credit Card Competition Act from Paton 13, that's from durbin.senate.gov. And I don't know, I think my thoughts on these business competition acts is, I think the government should be staying out of the market's decision. I think we should have market competition, but I don't think the government should be forcing it. So that's my thoughts there. I don't think the government, like, they're trying to have Google, they're trying to force market competition, and I don't think that's the correct answer. I would say I think the market competition needs to be natural, not government forced, I would say. Then we have Mayor Brandon Johnson explores opening city-owned grocery stores in food deserts from CBS News Chicago. From I posted that, and I said, giving the state control over food doesn't seem like a good idea based on what happened when the USSR tried it. The thing is that it sounds like, you want to support the needy, but, you have charity and other private enterprises that can do that. And life is ultimately unfair. You don't want to give the state too much power, however justified. You don't want people to rely solely on the state for all their resources. I would say you need to be a little more, supporting yourself than having the state support you. I would say, and this is a good example of that. I would say you need to, yeah. Then we have when the media needed free speech to dismantle the traditions, institutions, and power of their enemies, they championed it. Now they have achieved their goals. They aren't stupid enough to leave the loaded gun on the battlefield. From Aaron McIntyre on Twitter, and I posted that. And I said, to be fair, the media never really supported free speech. They just used it to be the game in town in regards to narrative control. Now, thanks to the internet, they aren't anymore. Then we have awful. The Senate chamber isn't your home, a gym, or an outdoor park. If you can't dress professionally for work or on the floor of the Senate of the United States, then do us all a favor and get a different job. From Justin Amash on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, Fetterman isn't mentally fit for the Senate, but I personally don't think it's very libertarian to police how people dress, in my opinion. It should be up to the voters for what standards they are okay with. Currently, it seems to be none other than correct letter next name, though. Then we have leading Republican presidential candidate spews continuous fire hose of falsehood yet again from amp.cnn.com by Clorox, and I think, that's that's the thing is that, the politicians lie, and that's just kind of what they always do. I don't think Trump lies more or less. I think he lies about the same level as all the other politicians. I just think, his lies come off as a bit more, it's easier to find because, he hasn't been in the game for as long as someone like Joe Biden. Joe Biden served for decades in the Senate and knows how to play the game better. His lies come off as more natural than Trump's, I would say. So that's my thing. That's my thoughts there, I would say. Then we have Julie's success story is difficult to deny from Cato.org, from Ruin My Circle Jerk, and I would agree. Chile is good. I don't think that Pinochet was good, but after Pinochet, I think Chile's really been on the upswing, and hopefully we I can keep it up. Yeah. Then we have Republican rep tortures GOP for lacking a single fact on Biden impeachment from NewRepublic.com by Kage blah blah blah, and I said, the New Republic is definitely an unbiased source. Compare it to what Reason put out earlier today. I linked the story about there's plenty of evidence to corruption on Biden. I can see the justification of people who don't really like Biden but prefer him as an alternative to Trump. But if you constantly defend Biden and post stuff like how he's the greatest president ever, you just might be a DNC shill. You know, the thing is, I think that the media source that alleges to be progressive, like the New Republic, has sold out to the DNC. I remember in 2020, a lot of writers in the New Republic supported Bernie over Biden in the Dem primaries and hated the coordinated dropouts of candidates like Klobuchar and Buttigieg before Super Tuesday to throw support behind Biden. Now they don't question anything Biden does and try to cover for him as much as possible. Something definitely smells fishy here. I think, maybe, the DNC has increasingly been able to control the narrative more and more, especially since Biden got elected. And I think that is not good. You need to release your Democrat. You need to be a part of the dissident left. You just can't be the DNC left, where it accepts everything the DNC tells you to. I think, and that's something that I think people need to start doing. I would say, people need to start questioning their own party instead of just saying, "Oh, Joe Biden's completely innocent. He's never done anything wrong in his life. He's the greatest president ever." You need to start questioning stuff like that. You just can't have the media tell you everything like that, and people are very good at questioning the other party, but they can't seem to question their own parties these days, and that's the big problem, I think, for a lot of people. A lot of people, they think authority they disagree with is legitimate, but suddenly when it's authority they agree with, it's 100% legitimate, and I personally disagree with that. I think all authority is illegitimate, and that's something I'm very passionate about. Then we have, what are your U.S. 2024 presidential predictions by Libertarian app, and that's linked to their website. And I said the Democratic Party candidate wins or the Republican Party candidate wins. Little changes regardless. The elections are just for show. The U.S. is run by the same deep state regardless of which knucklehead is in the White House. Expect more funding of Israel, Ukraine, and whatever other pet projects they have. Then we have GOP. We can't pass a budget. We need a distraction from Kage blah blah blah, and that's across from the r/white people Twitter subreddit. And it's from Jason Cross, Trump impeachment manager. Here's why McCarthy's impeachment inquiry is a scam. Why exactly are they opening inquiry? No one knows. Where is the evidence? There is none. It's a political witch hunt. Why now? Because GOP can't pass a budget, so they need distractions. So instead of talking to our challenges, Americans get more political theater. Insane. I like the top comment by Talent6 Actual. I like how you snuck in the more political theater comment, so you admit that this crappy your side was nothing more than politically motivated. Nice. And I said, I said it's all theater. They all probably get along behind the scenes. They act like they're the worst things ever on social media, but they're all getting along behind the scenes. And they're all fine with letting the deep state run the country. And I think that's something that we need to be fighting against, I would say. Then we have Libertarianism versus Gender by Nathan R.H., and it's a few paragraphs. I'm going to read all of them, but I replied with, the libertarian perspective is that you can believe there are however many genders you want to, but you can't force others to agree with your assessment. Then we have Campus Raid story was bulletproof except for the hoax, says Rolling Stone founder Jan Wenner from Reason.com, and I posted that. And I said, in hindsight, 2014 was the last year that really spelled out the media's doomed future. Or it was the year you had this in addition to the increasing criticism of video games journalism for Gamergate. People were starting to catch on that the media was more about pushing narratives than being right. And that's why I think you see so much, people really, believing whatever they want these days, because everyone knows that everyone's just pushing narratives, so why not just believe whatever you want? Because every source seems to have an agenda these days, I would say. And that's something that's important to remember. Then we have, I hope they'll go after her for this so that they accidentally set precedent banning all ages drag shows from Tim Pool on Twitter. I posted that. And that was his response to the Boebert stuff. And I replied, just goes to show why policing behavior isn't a good idea, because they could eventually turn around and use it back on you. Willpower069 said, I always excuse to attack dragging LGBT people. And I said, Boebert should just identify as being dragging LGBTQ, I guess. That's, it's like you can't criticize people's behavior when it's drag or LGBTQ, but suddenly Lauren Boebert does something and, they go after her because she's one of the out group, and that's the only reason they're going after her. If she was one of the in group, they'd be justifying her behavior and saying, oh, you can't police people's behavior like that. But the thing is that she's an out group member, and that means they can police your behavior. They can justify that, yeah. Then we have, why do we dress the requested attire for weddings out of respect for the bride and groom and the institution of marriage? Dress code matters from Seger and Jetty, and that was his reply to Tim Pool saying, dress code really doesn't matter. Fetterman should wear whatever he wants within reason. And I said, agree more with Pool than in Jetty here. Politicians already have shown that they don't respect the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. I don't think there is any reason to keep up with the facade. Stuff like this and Pool's last tweet I shared is why I don't try and police people or on their appearance or behavior. It's stuff like that which ends up justifying stuff like mandates, and they don't care. Yeah, so that's why you can't really police people on their behavior. You have to police them on their. People's dress. They can dress however they want, but it's where there are authoritarian government policies like the Patriot Act and the COVID regime and all that stuff that you really gotta call them out on, and how they don't care for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights at all, and how they just want to bully their agenda on you through the state. Then we have, Trump says that it's a terrible thing to sign a heartbeat abortion bill such as the ones passed in Florida, Iowa, Ohio, and Georgia, etc. from A.G. Hamilton on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, really stupid from Trump here, in my opinion. I'm personally more on the pro-choice side, but pretty much anyone who isn't 100% pro-life is already going to be against Trump for pointing the justices who helped repeal Roe v. Wade. It would be much safer for him to go on pro-life, but I guess if there's one thing I should know about Trump by now, it's that he's not afraid to take risks with how he politically brands himself while campaigning, even though he's the same new as the rest of them while actually serving. Then we have, U.S. officials have ordered a 2-day stand down for all military aviation from thedrive.com. And I said, I remember one of the guys I worked with who once served in the military said the military intelligence was an oxymoron. This is a good example of it, that, it's just to show you that U.S. government views itself, a lot of people think the U.S. government's evil, but I think it's much more incompetent evil. I think they are kind of, I would describe as evil and trying to force their agendas on you, but they're definitely much more incompetent, I would say, and that's probably for the best, because people always tend to overestimate their own competency, and that's definitely something I see of when it comes to government. Then we have Cope and C from LP Colorado, and that was a response to John Waldenberger saying, oh, you don't like property rights. And I said, peak Reddit energy there from Waldenberger. I remember he gave the most Reddit-y grandstanding speech at the LPPA convention last year. Yeah, it was like, we true liberties when they marched over the bridge in Selma, just being trying to claim the civil rights movement as your own, stuff like that, and that's something that, I personally don't agree with. I think, I do think the civil rights movement was kind of libertarian, but the thing is, you didn't really help with that. You're just trying to claim it as your own so you can use it for your agenda purposes. Then we have California pull-up politicians flow removing Trump from 2024 ballot from sfgate.com. And I said, that's from a donkey, and I said, ultimately, if he gets the Republican nomination, I don't think they can get away with it. They need to maintain the illusion of competition. They just can't have the Dems be the only party about like it's fucking North Korea. Though hopefully they have at least one third party on it as well. Then we have budget gimmicks, Washington labels, everything in emergency. Spend more of your tax dollars from John Stoss on YouTube, and I posted that. And I said, everything's an emergency these days. People need to get off social media and calm down, in my opinion. And finally, we have, if you don't stop the government from taking your guns today, you can't stop the government from taking your children tomorrow, from Michael Malice on Twitter. And I posted that, and he said he's right. The government can justify using whatever force it wants to, and there's oftentimes nothing you can do about it. Unless you have a method of force yourself, that is, I would say. So let's see if there's anything new. I don't think so. So I think we're gonna wrap up there. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.